You're listening to the Good Dirt Podcast. This is a place where we dig into the nitty-gritty of sustainable living through food, fashion, and lifestyle.
And we're your hosts, Mary and Emma Kingsley, the mother and daughter founder team of Lady Farmer. We're sowing seeds of slow living through our community platform, events, and online marketplace.
We started this podcast as a means to share the wealth of information and quality conversations that we're having in our world as we dream up and deliver ways for each of us to live into the new paradigm, one that is regenerative, balanced, and whole.
We want to put the microphone in front of the voices that need to be heard the most right now. The farmers, the dreamers, the designers, and the doers.
So come cultivate a better world with us. We're so glad you're here. Now, let's dig in.
I've been curious, Mom, in the past couple of years with the pandemic and then also the few years before that, since we started Lady Farmer, how have your ideas about the holidays changed, if at all? And how are you feeling right now, sort of at the very beginning of it? It's about to be Thanksgiving, and that's the kickoff to this holiday season, which is so fun and also can be fraught. And I just wonder, for you personally, where are you right now with all of it?
Oh, wow. I love this question. Actually, I have noticed a shift in myself. So through the pandemic, when we weren't seeing a lot of people, of course, went nowhere for so long. I think I have less of a tolerance for just being super busy and on the go all the time and doing. Yeah, I think I have slowed down a lot over the last 2 or 3 years for whatever reason. So how am I feeling entering this holiday season? I'm looking forward to it. We have a lot of family coming, and the goal is just try to keep everything simple, just try to focus on everybody being together and having a good time. Thoughts about buying things and gifts and decorating and all those things have gone way down the list. So I have changed, and I think it's in a good way. I think I'm more in touch with what is pleasing and nourishing about the season, and also more in touch with what takes me out of that. All this is not to say that I'm not busy. There's always things to do, but I do, when I can, try to choose the activities and enter the activities in a way that's not just thoroughly draining. I think I'm learning more and more through Lady Farmer, through the pandemic experience, through just listening to how I feel and observing. I think I'm learning more about how to go through each day in more of a regenerative way rather than emptying the gas tank, screeching to a halt, all those things that were more a part of a past life, I think. So, what about you?
Well, I think during the pandemic, because I was forced to slow down so much, I was super excited about holiday and I had space for it and I did decorate. And that was kind of a new feeling because in my adult life, I feel like I don't have room to really get into it energetically, probably because I'm so busy. So that says something. But with the help of Lady Farmer and the pandemic, yes, I think the past couple of years I've been able to sort of settle into it more. But it's funny because I think culturally during the pandemic, it became appropriate to start Christmas November 1st,
Yeah.
which I get because everyone was really sad and bored. It really brought a lot of cheer. Um, so I definitely am not there yet. It has so much to do with home and being in the home, and the decorating and such is like, it's extra. And yet
Yeah.
I also think that it's important because you have to have room for the extra. And I think it's kind of part of the point of the holiday. I'm looking forward to making room. I think I really need that right now.
Oh, I like that so much. And as you're talking, I'm having this memory, and this must be from, gosh, 20, 25 years ago, little kids, super chaotic holiday season, like I talk about in this Slow Friday episode. I have memories of the level of activity and chaos and things to do during the holidays. So I was in the middle of that, somewhere in there, and I remember just thinking about decorations. Got to get the tree, got to get that stuff on the mantle. And what did I want? What did I want to see? And the answer I got from myself was, I just want to go outside and find some greenery and find some red berries. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to get out anything else. I didn't want to go to the store and buy stuff. And I actually don't remember what I did in having young children. I'm sure I did more than that with the Christmas tree and all that kind of stuff. But I just remember that little voice inside me that was calling me, first of all, calling me towards more simplicity, calling me outside, calling me to real things, natural elements. And
Mm,
I think that was a little flame inside me that has grown a lot. And here
very
we are.
cool.
Yeah, here we are having these conversations, slow living through the seasons in the almanac, applying these ideas and concepts to our own life and trying to be really out loud about it in case all of this resonates with other people. And I think it does. So, anyway, thank you for asking that question.
Yeah. So now I think we should introduce what we're going to be airing today. So do you want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, today we are re airing an episode from this time last year when Emma and I were discussing Slow Friday. And Slow Friday is what we call the slow living version of Black Friday and some of our ideas around that. And as I've listened to this again, a couple of things come to mind that I'd like to say. One is that Emma and I are talking about the holidays in terms of Christmas because that's what we celebrate in our family. But everything that we're saying regarding the consumer side of this can be applied in general to the whole cultural gift buying and giving season. And that includes a number of different cultural traditions at this time of year. So just know that we aren't only speaking to Christmas, but Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day, and any other holiday that ties celebration and tradition so closely to commerce. And that's what we're taking a look at with this discussion.
Something else that we mentioned in this episode is about our retreat. We had a virtual retreat last year, 2021, and in 2020. And for 2 years before that, we had an in person Lady Farmer retreat. And those were all very wonderful. And we hope to do them again one day. But we are not having a virtual retreat this year. People missed the retreat and the gathering. It's come up in the almanac a bit. The good news is our goal with the almanac, especially this winter, is to have more sort of one-off workshops where we all get on together and we do our mending, or we're all cooking a recipe at the same time, or something to that effect, to where we can truly have this community experience no matter where we are. Now, we'd love to have an in-person retreat again. So let us know if you have any ideas about that, where it should be, what that should be like. We have a ton of great memories from retreats past. But in the meantime, until we get there, we are in the almanac, living intentionally and thoughtfully together and exploring these ideas. And we'd love to have you join us.
Absolutely. It's just continues to be an ever unfolding adventure and experience. So, yeah, we'd love to have you in there. Also, in this episode, you'll hear us offer a couple of ideas for a Slow Friday challenge. So, those are fun. And if you're up for that, or if you think of your own way of reframing this day, we'd love to hear from you on our dedicated podcast phone line.
I love that idea, Mom. We love it when you guys call in, and I guess a prompt can be helpful. So if you have an alternative thing that you're going to be doing for Slow Friday, let us know. 443-459-1950.
Hope you enjoy this episode again, or for the first time if you didn't catch it last year. As always, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll be back on Friday with an interview. So thanks so much for being here, and see you later.
Hello and happy Friday, Good Dirt listeners. This is going to be a special episode with Jess, my mom, and I here chatting. We decided to pop in and just have it be us today to kind of kick off this amazing holiday season and this day, this really special Friday that most of us know as Black Friday. But we're doing something a little different here at Lady Farmer that my mom had a brilliant idea to call it Slow Friday. And we just wanted to kind of think about that and pull things apart a little bit and really share a bit of our own experiences with gift giving and receiving and how we've come to think of those things and think about them differently in our work here at Lady Farmer and on the Good Dirt. So thank you for being here. And I guess to kick us off, Mom, I'll have you introduce what you're thinking about Slow Friday and how that idea came to you and what you'd like to share with us today.
Well, thank you. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
Happy Slow Friday.
Happy Slow Friday.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about this day after Thanksgiving, which really becomes this whole cultural phenomenon of people turning their attention and their focus and their energy to buying things.
Sure.
Because it's the launch of the holiday season, and it's a good day to get your gifts because
really good deals.
Really good deals.
It's really exciting even.
It's very exciting. It's fun.
And it feels fleeting because it's just one day. Or, now we all know it's...
It's more than one day now, but it started out as one day. So, the theme of really Black Friday is fast and cheap. It is absolutely the pinnacle of fast and cheap consumerism focused on this day. And the reason being is, of course, and we all know this, that holiday season is a big time for the retail industries, and they make up a lot of their profits for the year. And so they want to encourage everybody to take part, go for the team, go for the economy, for our system. We all need to do our part to support it.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a sense too, and just knowing a little bit from what I know on the other side of marketing, we have an online store, we sell things, we do marketing. Just having a little bit of awareness about this, I'm able to now, I recognize how much of Black Friday is totally, it's a marketing campaign to provoke a certain emotion, a certain urgency, a certain expectation around consumer habits. So I find it a lot easier to sort of peel that apart when I see it as, oh, this is a very carefully constructed and designed campaign basically to really target me, and I'm being sort of not forced, but I'm being convinced to buy things in a special way. So
I wanted to just come up with a way in my own mind of reframing the day and a way to present it to our listeners in a way that doesn't, we don't want to be, preachy, you should do this or should do that, or.
Yeah, we don't need to harp on and on about how consumerism is bad.
And we all know that the holidays, there's overconsumption during the holidays. I mean, everybody is well aware of that. So it's not about that.
It's about the true meaning of Christmas. Just kidding.
That's another show. It is about reframing it in a way where all of us can approach the whole thing in our own way, a way that meets our values and dreams for the holidays, and to try to include all the generosity and the love and the gathering and all those things encompassed in a way that doesn't require so much.
Yeah, exactly. So much.
So much.
Yeah. ... Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. There's just not one word for all of it.
So I love that, because it's what you just posed made me think, just because we want to think differently about our consumer habits and about buying things around the holidays, it doesn't mean that we have to part with, you said, love, generosity, just whatever feelings that we get about gift giving and gift receiving. And I think, again, I was joking about the true meaning of Christmas, but I do think it is important to take a moment to explore those things. What does that mean? Why are those feelings good? Why does it feel so good to buy stuff?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and think about that and hash that stuff out. And I thought a fun thing would be for you and I both to kind of go back to each of our childhoods and think about what it was like to get gifts on Christmas, and then when we were old enough to give gifts. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Can you start us off?
Yes, and you really hit on something a minute ago when you said something about tapping into the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So the feelings of, that the magic of Christmas as a child, the anticipation, the excitement.
Yeah.
And you get to put your wishes out to the universe, Santa Claus, whatever gift giver came to your house.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sheer excitement and magical joy of Christmas morning. I mean, there's really nothing like it
Yeah.
as a child. I mean, it's truly, truly special and unique and limited to that one day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all that as a child, and just Christmas was so exciting and so wonderful, and all the music and everything and the anticipation of the gifts. And then, I was never disappointed. I woke up on Christmas morning and there was lots of really wonderful gifts, and it was so much fun. Behind all that was, surrounded by family, neighbors, friends, sometime late or in the morning on Christmas or even into the afternoon, you would start calling your friends and see what they got. And then you would run back and forth and you'd look at each other's toys. And it was just so great. And then there would be gatherings, neighborhood gatherings in the afternoon, probably go over to one of the neighbors' house and have a party or a neighborhood meal.
Yeah.
Lots of times they would come to our house and we would have, sandwiches made from the leftover Christmas dinner, which would have been the night before in our house. It would have been Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So there's so many memories, and for better or worse, the gifts and the toys and stuff we got played a pretty big part.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
Imagine most people feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but if we woke up and there wasn't anything there, and my parents said, "Oh, this is going to be all about just loving each other," we probably went, "What? You kidding me?" So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what was your first memory of, like, how old were you when you kind of realized, like, oh, this is like a lot of stuff? Like, when, I guess, how old do you have to be like,
To realize that it's a lot,
yeah, and that it's kind of like
too much.
it's about materials, and it's about,
I don't know.
I wonder when that kind of switches.
I don't know.
Was it until you were when you were a parent and you were?
I think that probably didn't really make an impact on me until I was a parent.
Yeah. And can you talk about that a little bit? What that was like?
Yeah. So your dad and I wanted to replicate all those feelings of magic and happiness, and the things that you dreamed about and things that you wanted. We wanted you to have that too.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really aware, not too much. Too much is overwhelming and it's expensive, it's wasteful. I certainly had an awareness of all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I began to notice that year after year, it still seemed like too much. It still kind of got out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, this and this and this. And, oh, we want, then you want the stocking to be all stuffed and loaded with stuff because it's so much fun. It's so much fun to pour out your stocking. And so you'd look for little things and, so many plastic things, so much sugar, so much packaging.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the whole Christmas morning thing, piles and piles and piles of packaging and trash. And I think every year it hit me a little more like, golly, what are we doing here? I'm playing out a script that was instilled in my emotional makeup about what Christmas should look like.
Yeah.
And was replicating it and didn't know how to do it differently. And also, here's a funny thing, my family, for so many years, we would say, okay, we're going to draw names, and we would draw names and, you'd give the present to one person. I'm talking about my siblings, like the adults.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. The aunts and uncles, yeah.
Right. And that worked and it was fine. But then, you'd find something that was perfect for a person, you didn't draw their name.
Yeah.
So you'd get it anyway, and then that would mess it up. And then, and then people would say, you weren't supposed to do that. And it gets confusing.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Do you remember a time, and I'm trying to remember too, when we just got old enough to not need as many gifts to keep that magic alive?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What was that? When we were in high school or something?
There was no less.
It's true. There was still a ton of stuff.
Things got more expensive.
Yeah, we needed cooler, better gifts. The technology got good.
Yeah. Do you remember the year your oldest brother was on the rowing team and he got an erg?
Oh, yeah.
A rowing machine. Christmas morning is sitting there in the middle of the living room floor.
It's
and
ridiculous.
Of course, there were guitars and there were, electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And, modern day slavery is very much tied to supply chains and electronics.
Yeah.
And electronics are such a part of our gift giving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that has slowly dawned on me golly, what are we doing?
I do remember, I mean, I will say, I'll take, my turn in talking about as
Yeah.
a kid. Similar to you, Mom, you did a great job in replicating your own childhood
Did
for
I?
your kids. Yeah. It was, it was so just fun, and the building in the anticipation, and like everything was just so exciting. And I think I do kind of remember at some point, maybe I was like 8, 9, 10-ish, just being like, there's so many great toys here. I can't even give my attention to all of, you know what I mean? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just so excited about this. And like there'd be like, I feel like I would get like at least 3 or 4 just like awesome, like if it was a new like little Barbie or something, and I could have played with that all day. And obviously as a kid, you're like, heck yeah. But I think part of me was like, I can't even like appreciate this as much. And it was probably thrilling as a parent because your kid's just like so overjoyed.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. And I do have a really vivid memory. It was always in the conversation, and we were always talking about it. Like, we knew how lucky we were, and everyone, Christmas morning was so happy. But, we did do the stuff at church, and we were aware that, like, some families, don't have this. And we would give, what was that thing? Operation Christmas Child. We do those little
Yeah.
boxes. So, I was aware of that sort of thing. And then Dad would always say stuff like, your grandmother, when she was a kid, they would get like an orange and a peppermint stick on Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
like we had those stories in our heads too. So
That was my grandmother.
oh,
Got an apple and a book.
yeah. Well, I think Dad's grandma got an orange and a peppermint stick.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like that's your Christmas present. And
Yeah.
so what was that? What had happened during the Depression? Or before, maybe?
Before, my grandmother was actually born in 1890. Let's say around the
Yeah.
turn of the century, she would have gotten a piece of fruit, maybe a piece of candy, and a book. That was
Yeah.
Christmas.
So that's also something that's kind of been in the back of my head too, is like, what would Christmas morning be like if? And I will say, in our adulthood, in our adult life, with the 3 adult kids, I feel like we have had a couple of Christmases where we're like intentionally, minimal gift giving. And it's just sort of like, okay, it's like lovely. And as adults, we don't need a bunch of stuff. And maybe it's because there aren't small children in our family yet, our immediate family, but it's not like as exciting.
Do you feel disappointed on Christmas?
No, I don't feel disappointed. It's just interesting. It's like we've spent decades of hammering this excitement, and anticipation means you have to have like a ton of presents.
Right. It's creating that feeling like as a child that experienced that rush of excitement and delight
Mm-hmm.
is somehow dependent on a pile of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a parent, you want your own children to have that. And the only way you know how to do that is to provide a pile of stuff. Now,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many people out there that have found a way around this.
Yeah. And if you have, we want to hear about it.
We do.
Let us know.
We really, really do. I mean, like now my kids are all grown up. I blew it. And now I'm sort of living this mission through Lady Farmer of learning about other ways of doing things, learning ways of reducing our consumerism, taking more care of our resources. And all of this it isn't that all this stuff is new to me. It's just that I reached a time in my life, and then we started Lady Farmer and everything, where I really want to begin, living out that and not just thinking about, things should be better. We could do better, and like really, really doing better. So
Yeah.
that's why we're talking, being out loud about all this. And, frankly, I still find the holidays a challenge, even with everything I know and all the horrors I know about the
Supply chains.
supply chains and the waste and what's in the landfills and the, all the chemicals and all this cheap stuff that's bad for our health, that's bad for the kids, that's in our clothes. Just this sheer enormity of things that are unhealthy for ourselves, for the planet, for the soil. All these things I now know, it is still a challenge.
Yeah, it's really hard.
These are deep-seated patterns and traditions. And
They're so emotional. I think that's what makes it so hard.
so emotional. And like, if it was just me, it would be fine, but you're involving all these other people.
Yeah. So when we were chatting a little bit about this earlier, you had mentioned the idea of Slow Friday. So welcome to Slow Friday, everyone.
Yeah.
This is Slow Friday. And even just starting with like an hour on today, on Slow Friday, when you might, when it might be, oh, maybe I should go online and get some deals or whatever.
Yeah.
We were trying to think of like a few other alternatives to just like small ways to chip away at this and to like, I almost think of it as like we're like rewiring our brains, right? We're rewiring like our impulses as a culture. So what are some of the like little ways that
I'm going to
speak
for
Mary
ourselves.
Kingsley. Yeah. What are some things you're going to be doing?
And speaking for ourselves. Okay. So, if I found myself thinking, oh, this would be a good day to go on and find that thing for this person that I had in mind of giving them, I think the first thing I would do would be pause to just contain that impulse for a minute. And first of all, think about that person. Just think about them, think about them in an appreciative way and how I would like to let that person know that I care about them and I'm thinking about them. I'm trying to think of something they would like.
Yeah.
So one idea is to actually sit down and write that person a little note or a letter or something to give them on Christmas. I'm not saying instead of a gift.
Yeah.
At all. But maybe after you did that, it might feel like enough.
Well, it's a way to contain those emotions.
Yeah.
Before immediately channeling them to a purchase of a thing that they might not even, they'll appreciate the gift, but maybe your emotions written down would be more meaningful. I don't know.
Yeah. I would, speaking from a personal standpoint, that would certainly be as meaningful to me coming from someone. This is my gift to use to tell you some things I appreciate or how I feel or, looking over the last year, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of letter writing, we do so much less of it now. And I think it's just a general, really beautiful way to engage with slow living and slowing down and sharing a moment with other people and being present and putting that on paper and then, going through the steps of the stamp and putting it, all those steps are so hard for someone like me to connect all the dots. But when you do it, it's so meaningful. And we actually, in the Almanac right now, we've set up members with pen pals. So we're doing that. That's really fun. My pen pal lives in France.
Really?
Yes.
That is so cool.
Have you written your pen pal letter yet?
I have written my pen pal and we've traded poetry.
Oh.
And her name is Lauren. I won't give her last name for privacy's sake, but anyway. So Lauren sent me a recipe for this wonderful bread, which I made. And she sent me a poem. And then I wrote her a letter and I sent her a poem. And the poem is actually so appropriate for this conversation. I'm going to give you the first couple of lines of it.
Okay.
It's called The World is Too Much With Us, and it's by William Wordsworth. And here are the first 3 lines of the poem. The world is too much with us late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And he wrote that like in the early 1800s.
Oh my gosh.
So that blew me away. I like the act of just writing that poem out for her. I thought this is so powerful, even for now, 200 years later.
Yeah.
Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. So with that in mind, the getting and spending that we would
getting and spending, that's literally giving and receiving.
And facilitating.
Yeah.
All that. Like that.
We're leaving ourselves out of it.
And that's exactly what Black Friday's about.
Yeah.
Really, getting and spending. So instead of getting and spending and laying waste our powers.
Oh, I love that. Laying waste
our powers.
Our powers.
So what are the powers that we're laying waste when, we're giving into that
urge,
like that beckoning call of the marketplace to get in there and just get in there today and to do this.
Yeah.
So what powers are we laying waste?
Wow, that's so awesome to think about.
So you think of one, like we were talking about, what are things to do instead of hopping on and buying something immediately. We're not saying don't buy this gift for your loved one. We're not saying that. We're just saying,
and also
give it a minute.
To be fair, it is really nice that there's deals on things. Like, hello. Everyone loves to save money
Right.
if you can.
That's so true. That's so true. We just have to remember, though, that
That's not a reason to buy something.
correct and cheap is never a bargain.
It's true.
There's always a cost somewhere
Yeah.
on the planet or with some person. There's always some cost to something being super cheap.
Yeah.
And just keep that in mind. And we all have to make these decisions. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's 100% like, 100% a perfectly balanced consumer. I don't know how you put that. These are just things to keep in mind. So what would you do on Slow Friday?
Yeah, well, thinking about laying waste our power, I really love that. So, like, thinking about, okay, so what powers might I be giving up? And I really like the idea of, even if you're not like a crafty or a makey person, besides writing a letter, which I love that idea, what is something that you could use your power to produce that might mean something to someone else, as a gift? So, you had mentioned earlier, consumable gifts are always, from like a zero waste perspective, a smart one. So maybe that's baking something, maybe it's something, slightly more crafty, but something that the person can use. Even if you can't create it yourself, always defaulting to a local artist, someone in your community probably can. So maybe it's researching, who in my community makes nice soaps or candles, and
Exactly.
those are usable, consumable things, right? So
right.
and kind of go in the making, supporting local type realm, but also, and your part of that would be the research and the supporting the artist, right? Your power is your choice of who you're going to buy things from.
And your thoughtfulness.
Right.
About that.
Thought. Yeah.
And like you say, like seeking out a source of this thing that's going to have some meaning and less harm.
Right.
Less harm in the world.
Yeah.
Because lots of these fast and cheap things are harmful. They are in many ways. Do no harm or try our best.
Yeah. Another interesting or like alternative gift giving idea is an experience. What's an experience that you can gift someone? So
yes,
maybe it's now luckily, live music is back in some areas. So maybe it's a concert or a play. I'm only thinking like theater friends, a visit to a museum. You can be so good. Like the possibilities are endless. Like I love a good scavenger hunt that someone makes up, and you hide little treats or I don't know, something that you can create that's an experience. Especially that would be a great one with young kids too. Like what's something that we can like do together.
Right. And you're giving the gift of thought and your time and companionship. And that's a really, really rich one. And again, these are not new ideas. I mean, people have been suggesting, give the gift of experience, we've been hearing that for a while now, but there comes a time when you think, yeah, that's a good idea. And then you actually do it.
Yeah. I do want to interject this train of thought with a memory that I have. Do you remember the love notes?
Oh gosh,
Mom made us
yes.
do love notes.
Yes. So
maybe that was it just 1 year or a couple of years?
I only did it 1 year because it got a little dicey. So the love notes were like every day in December. Yeah. Everybody had a box and the family had a box, and every day in December, everybody in the family would drop a little love note in everybody else's box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it began to get a little, I hate to say it, but how would you describe this? People were taking it not very seriously and using it to be funny or snarky or,
maybe we were like too old for it.
I think y'all were a little,
too old and too immature. I don't know.
I thought it would be so sweet. It didn't really work.
It's funny though. It's a good memory.
It is funny.
And I'll still laugh about it.
I actually saved those love notes and I ran across them a few years ago, and oh my gosh, some of them were so funny.
Yeah.
Like
I'm thinking they were like backhanded, like,
yes,
I love you even when you never get off the computer.
Yeah, stuff like that. I would love you more if you would give me the turn. Let me have my turn doing whatever, just stuff,
So funny. A really good idea. Great in theory, Mom.
I tried. I really did. So I'm pretty excited about like next weekend. We're having our slow living retreat, and Kirsten Shockey, the fermenting queen, is coming on to teach us how to make fermented gifts.
Fermented, mustards.
Mustard, different, all kinds of. I am really excited
And
about
actually,
that.
Christy Johnson's embroidery class.
Oh, yeah.
That could be also a gift giving opportunity. Anything you make with your two hands, doesn't matter what it is always going to be so lovely.
Oh, yes. And somebody could, it's Black Friday today. If somebody gives somebody a gift, you give them a gift of our slow living retreat.
Oh, that's a great gift idea.
That's really good.
Or an almanac membership. We have gift memberships available on our website.
Yes.
That's the best. That's a experience.
Oh,
It's a lifestyle. You get to hang out with us.
It's community.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
Also, The Lady Farmer Guide to Slow Living.
Oh, yeah, that's
Great
a great
book.
gift.
So anyway, I didn't mean to, segue into commercials there, but since this is what we do.
Yeah. And I guess on that note, a really wonderful thing about gift giving in the holidays is it is an opportunity. I hit on this a little bit earlier, but it is an opportunity to support, things that you do believe in and makers that you do want to support. And
yes,
like, I just love, artisan like mugs. And like things like that it's like, do I need another mug?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. But do I love this artist and what they do? And do I love using mugs and drinking coffee? I do. And so at Christmas, I might buy a mug or buy someone for someone else, or I might receive a mug that I would love to get. So that's just like a really tiny example of it is possible to still, if we really do need to scratch our itch of buying things.
Yeah.
There's amazing options for buying things.
And I think the urge to give gifts is real.
And, there's nothing wrong with it.
We're not going to minimize that. We're not going to say don't give gifts.
Yeah.
I think the point is just, how can you just step back a little bit from the gigantic machine of all this crazy consumer wasteland out there?
And how do you tune in, to use an overused word, but how do you tune in and you give authentically and from an authentic place and from really thoughtfully and from you? And like that's where the real meaning is, as opposed to kind of just being sold something and mindlessly cooking.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to my own history and experience, I grew up during the mall era.
Yeah.
And so it was an activity.
Right.
To go to the mall for your
Probably
Christmas
still
shopping.
Is in some places. I know we don't really have any malls around us, but
this is before the days of online shopping. And, so you had, you had to get in your car and drive somewhere, and you would make probably not just one time, it's, several times during the season, you go out and buy stuff and come home with bags of stuff to wrap up and give away. This was the thing. This was the part of it. This was the experience of the whole thing. But now we have so many more options.
It's true.
And to your example about the mug, if you had a choice between giving someone a mug that's made by someone that's done it with their hands and they could use a small business that could use support, the arts and whatever, and comparing that to a sweater, something that's made in a sweatshop where a person is not paid a living wage and the chemical dyes are causing problems in the water, then if we're just going to pause a minute and give that thought, that becomes an easier choice. Mm-hmm. That becomes something that's really not hard to recognize, where we can do better.
Yeah.
And also, I'll add to that, where does gift giving become just checking off the boxes?
Totally.
You have to have something for so-and-so to open or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point.
Yeah. And that person, you're trying to check the box. Maybe that's the person that, the letter or the jar of mustard or the, a loaf of banana bread or something would be just really great.
Or treat them to a coffee date. Or Yeah.
So many things, so many choices.
So the last thing that I had written down for an alternative way to spend, or something else to do with your time on Black Friday, other than go on the internet and fill up your cart out of a sense of urgency and fulfilling something that you feel needs to be fulfilled.
Or obligation.
Obligate, that's the word. Would be to just instead. I mean, not saying don't do it at all, but before you do, maybe go on a walk outside.
Yeah.
Feel the brisk air. Hang out with some trees.
Think about the people you want to give gifts to.
Think about them on your walk. Exactly.
Send them good vibes.
Yeah.
And think about how you really want to express your appreciation and love for them on this day that in our culture is, supposed to be about showing people that you care for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Which company was it that said, don't buy anything today, go outside?
That was probably Patagonia also.
Or REI, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. REI has, a ton of cool companies do cool stuff with Black Friday. And
yeah.
we're just renaming it.
Slow Friday. So
yeah.
I'm not claiming to be the first to think of that. I mean, I'm sure it's out there, just like slow food, slow fashion, slow living. It must be out there somewhere. But I did like the way it sort of felt as I was anticipating, how to respond to this.
Mm-hmm. And also what's interesting about Black Friday that helps me give some distance from it, kind of as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, is remembering that it's a marketing campaign. And the way that I've been seeing Black Friday marketing since Halloween, it is just a marketing. It has no meaning anymore because sales happen all the time. Guess what? The reason why people have sales is to get you to buy stuff. There, I said it. I shattered the secret. That's the reason why people have sales is to drive revenue. So you're literally being swindled.
So there's this book, a children's book. You probably remember it. It's called, I think it's just called Christmas by Peter Spear.
Mm-hmm.
And it has no words in it. And this book didn't come out until after I had grown up, but I think it's probably before I had kids. So it implanted some of this stuff in my brain. But he just shows you the pictures of all the beautiful, sparkly, exciting things leading up to Christmas, and then Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning. And this is all in pictures. It follows a family. Mm-hmm. And then it shows you Christmas Day, and it's pictures of the trash piling up and the things being thrown here and there, and the toys being forgotten on the floor and broken and so forth. And then, it ends with showing the trash outside in big bags, just all the trash. This book was probably written in the maybe 70s or 80s. I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
And no words, just pictures.
Yeah.
And
was it a kid's book or?
It's just children's book.
Oh, wow.
Peter Spear. It made a huge impression on me. And I think, then as I became a parent, that was in my mind.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
There was also a book, like a chapter book for adults called Unplug the Christmas Machine.
Yes, Unplugging the Christmas Machine. Yeah.
Did you read that?
Yes,
I remember seeing it in our house.
And that was all about this kind of thing. It wasn't just about consumerism. It was also about, the pace. Like when you guys were young, there were so many activities. There were recitals. There were plays. There were, class parties. There were get-togethers. And everybody wants to do all this stuff around the holidays. And so the busyness and the pace and the things to do were just, just really amped up. And things like, like teacher gifts and baking for the class party, just so many things. I remember just being super overwhelming. And there was even a time in there, I hate to admit it, but this is just being totally honest, I just really did not like Christmas. No.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember it?
I remember you being like, ugh, can't wait till this is over.
Oh, no, that's terrible. See, my mother never would have done that. I don't think it was out of hand for her.
Yeah. No, that's good, though. It's good to be honest about that.
I think, if I grew up in the 60s, that's 30 years before you guys were going through all this stuff. And there was probably just more. Just take all that and just
amplify it.
Yeah. And, every one of you had your activities and your performances and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So Unplug the Christmas Machine was very much about that, on top of the consumerism too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those books. And thank you guys for being here. And is there anything else we wanted to mention?
Speaking of Slow Friday, I'd like to offer listeners a little invitation if you want to, just for fun. I offer you a Slow Friday challenge.
Okay.
So I have a couple of ideas for this, but one of them is don't buy anything today.
Okay.
See how that feels. And if stuff comes up for you about that, maybe it won't. Maybe you're a person that maybe wouldn't do that anyway. But if it does, I think it'd be interesting just to observe for yourself how that makes you feel, what comes up. Just be with it. Here's another Slow Friday challenge. Think of gifts that you are in the gift-giving mode and you want to get gifts today or anytime during the season. Take the time to be thoughtful about those purchases and get gifts that are not going to be harmful to the planet or yourself, your own health, or anyone else involved in the supply chain or the production of it. And there's lots of choices in that realm. So just give it thought.
Yeah, think about how much of if you're going to buy something, how much of the supply chain do you know about? Can you name? Can you, do you know whose hands touched it? Can you take responsibility for the full supply chain? That's a great exercise. Actually makes shopping a lot easier because there's so many things you can't get.
Yeah. So if you don't know the story behind something, then keep looking.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that.
Well, we really appreciate you guys for being here today. Thanks for doing something a little bit different with us. We will be back with another interview next week. And for long after that as well, every Friday we're here. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you so much. And we hope you have a wonderful start to this really fun, magical season.
Yeah.
And we do hope you join us at the Lady Farmer Slow Living Retreat next week.
Yeah, there is still time to sign up. So get on in there and get your ticket and come in. We want to see you there, and we want you in our community and learning all kinds of things about slow living.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye-bye.